Hey, so we're still working our way through REQ Capital's amazing serial acquirers document that they released just recently. Today, we're looking at scaling M&A and the long-term opportunities. Something that comes up a lot in the serial acquirers world is how long can they keep doing this? And we're going to try and answer that question today. So an interesting mathematical way to look at the scaling of a serial acquirer is to look at it in this 777 structure. AdLife did some interesting work on this and interesting thinking, and I think this makes a lot of sense. So what you have is a management layer of 7 people, right? And those 7 people can manage 7 business units underneath them. And then those business units can measure another 7 businesses underneath those, this 777 structure. The reason the number 7 comes up is because anything more than 7, it starts to get hard and it gets difficult to keep the connection with the business or the business units. Anything greater than that, it just sort of pushes that person. So 7 seems to be, from experience through AdLife, is that this optimal number that is like capacity for somebody to handle. I don't know whether that's exactly right in practice. Obviously, there would be nuance to that. Some businesses might require more work than others and business units. So therefore, maybe someone needs to manage just 2 or 3 and someone can manage maybe 10. But this idea of 777 structure, I think, is logical. Therefore, you could get to, in AdLife's idea, 343 businesses that you as a company could handle. Now, this graphic is really interesting to see how Constellation Software have been able to structure their big acquisition-driven engine. So you've got Constellation Software as a head office in the middle here, and then you have the main sort of subsidiaries leading off from there. You've got Harris and Topicus and, Valaris and the ones that Constellation Software have underneath them. And then those have, 10 to 15 or so units underneath those. And then they have the hundreds of different individual different companies and businesses underneath those units. So you can see how big this can get. Now, an interesting thing here with Constellation Software is that if you can spin out these businesses, like your business unit, so Topicus has been spun out, for example, then maybe they spin out Harris as its own publicly listed company. There's no reason why these little business units can turn into their own Constellation Software and continue the trend that Constellation Software and the processes they have in place to grow and go further as well. And maybe some of their business units get spun out, and this could essentially continue, but how far can it go? And speaking of Constellation Software, each week I put out an email with what I think the valuation is of Constellation Software and a range of other serial acquirers in an email called Yes Stocks, No Stocks. There's a link in the description for that. So let's answer that question now of how long these serial acquirers can continue to go for. So small private businesses are the backbone of the economy. In Europe, 99.8% of all companies are small or medium-sized enterprises. That's with fewer than 250 employees. Now, this group of companies comprises a total of 23.5 million companies. 23.5 million companies just in Europe. 94% of these companies are independent, meaning large corporations don't control them. So that means families or founders still own these businesses. In Europe, 15,000 companies are sold each year, just 15,000 of the 23.5 million. And of those 15,000 companies that are sold each year, some of them are acquired by large corporations or strategic buyers, some by private equity firms, and then some by the serial acquirers. And regarding the country distribution of small and medium-sized enterprises in Europe is on this little graph over here on the right-hand side. So you've got Italy, France, Spain, Germany, UK, sort of the bigger sections of this pie. But like we said, 23.5 million businesses in Europe, 15,000 of them are sold each year. So when we look at some of the serial acquirers that do 5, 10 a year or something like that, that is such a drop in the bucket of the 15,000 that are sold each year. And then that's just a drop in the bucket of the 23.5 million businesses that are out there, just in Europe. And the way that I invest in the serial acquirers in Europe is I use Interactive Brokers, link in the description for that. You can actually take a demo account for a bit of a test drive to see what the platform is like and see whether you like how it works. It's the one I use and I highly recommend. It's definitely the best out there. So I hope this video gives you a little bit of reassurance that the serial acquirers that are out there have a long runway to go and the opportunities are not drying up anytime soon. If anything, I think that number of 15,000 each year in Europe could actually grow as a lot of the aging population and sort of that baby boomer era are hitting sort of the 70-year-old age at the moment. Therefore, I think the next 10 or 15 years is going to be a really strong buyer's market. So serial acquirers, especially the ones that have already got like a strong outreach and sales force that are going out there and looking for businesses throughout Europe, I think they're going to do really well. So yeah. Okay, so that's some of my takeaways from this section of REQ Capital's report. I've got a lot more to go through. We're going to keep learning as we go through this document that they've put together and pull out the really, I think, critical parts to serial acquirers. All right, hope you're enjoying. I'll see you in the next video.